The first sound Ava Reed heard was the lock clicking behind her. It was small, almost polite, a soft metal snap beneath the fluorescent hum of the hospital storage room, followed by the quiet retreat of expensive heels on polished tile. For one breath, Ava stood perfectly still with a folded stack of linen in her arms, staring at the door as if her mind refused to understand what had just happened. Then she dropped the linen. "Hello?" Her voice hit the cold metal shelves and bounced back thinner than before. Opened the door. Outside the narrow glass window, she saw a shadow pause. Then Isabella Conti leaned into view. She looked impossible in a hospital hallway, too flawless, too composed, too untouched by fear. Her dark hair was twisted into a smooth knot. Her diamond earrings caught the light like tiny blades. Her cream coat probably cost more than Ava made in 2 months. Isabella smiled. Not warmly, not even cruelly with effort. She smiled like Ava was a stain being wiped away. "You've been very devoted," Isabella said through the glass. But devotion becomes embarrassing when it forgets its place. Ava moved closer to the door, her pulse rising. "Roman Valenti is my patient. He is my fiancé. He's unstable. His oxygen levels dropped twice this morning. And the sedative enough." Isabella's smile disappeared. "You are a nurse. You change dressings. You empty bags. You do not hover over powerful men like a grieving wife." Ava's fingers curled against the door handle. It would not move. Beyond Isabella's shoulder, the hallway glowed with luxury silence. St. Aurelia Medical Center did not look like a place where people died. It looked like a private hotel built for people rich enough to demand beauty even in pain. Marble floors, frosted glass, soft gold lamps, fresh white orchids beside locked elevators. A private wing where politicians, billionaires, and men like Roman Valenti disappeared when the world could not be allowed to know they were bleeding. Inside room 901, Roman had been unconscious for 9 days. 9 days since he had been pulled from the wreckage of a black armored SUV beneath a bridge on the edge of Boston Harbor. 9 days since surgeons had removed fragments from his shoulder and ribs. 9 days since his family had filled the hallway with armed men. Whispered threats and secrets. Everyone said he would never wake. His doctors spoke in careful tones. His relatives made arrangements without saying the word funeral. His fiancée came every afternoon dressed like a widow practicing for the cameras. But Ava knew. She had seen his fingers twitch when she checked his pulse. She had watched his breathing shift when she read his chart aloud. She had felt, once, his hand close weakly around hers when a monitor alarm screamed at 3 in the morning. Roman Valenti was still inside that damaged body, and now they had locked her away from him. "You can do this," Ava said, keeping her voice low because fear hated calmness. "If something happens to him, if something happens to him," Isabella whispered, stepping closer to the glass. "No one will blame the pretty little fiancé who stood beside his bed. They will blame the obsessed nurse who had to be removed." Ava, stomach turned cold. Behind Isabella, 2 orderlies stood near the wall, pretending not to hear. One of them would not meet Ava's eyes. The other looked terrified. "You paid them?" Ava asked. Isabella laughed softly. "Everyone is paid by someone." Then she turned away. Ava slammed her palm against the door. "Isabella, open it." The woman stopped one last time. "Listen carefully. Ava Reed, when Roman S. family arrives, you will not be seen. When the priest arrives, you will not be seen. When I place my ring on his finger for the photographers, you will not be seen." Ava went still. "The priest," she whispered. Isabella's eyes glittered. "A hospital wedding looks tragic enough to silence questions. If he lives, I become his wife. If he dies, I become his widow. Either way, the Valenti Empire will need me." Ava's breath left her. You insane. No, Isabella said. I'm prepared. Then she walked away. Ava grabbed a metal tray from the shelf and hit the door handle once. Twice. 3 times. Pain shot through her wrist. The sound exploded through the room, but the hallway swallowed it. St. Aurelia's private wing had been designed to keep noise out, screams included. She ran to the emergency phone on the wall. Dead. Of course. Her breath sharpened. Her hands shook, not from weakness, from fury. She pictured Roman lying beneath the soft blue light of the monitors, his skin pale against the pillow, his black hair still damp from the fever she had fought all night. She pictured Isabella leaning over him, sliding a ring onto his finger while his body could not refuse. Ava hit the door again. Somebody open this door? No one came. Then, faintly, through the wall, she heard a sound that made her blood stop. A monitor alarm. Not the steady beep she had memorized. A sharper tone. A crisis tone. Ava froze, listening. Footsteps rushed outside. Voices rose. Then a man shouted, "He's moving." Another voice, stunned and low, said, "Mr." Valenti. Ava pressed both hands to the glass. Across the hallway, through the narrow slice of open space, she could see the doorway of room 901. Men in black suits crowded around it. Isabella appeared again, no longer smiling. Inside the room, someone gasped. Then Ava heard it. A voice, rough, broken, barely alive, but powerful enough to silence every person on the floor. Ava. The hallway went quiet. Ava's lips parted. Roman Valenti had spoken her name. Not his fiancée S. Not his brother S. Not his mother S. Hers. Again. Lower this time. Sharper despite the weakness tearing through his throat. Bring me Ava. Ava slammed her palm against the glass. I'm here. Nobody moved. Roman's voice came again. Colder now. Now, the door to the storage room opened so fast it struck the wall. Ava stumbled out, blinking into the bright hallway. Isabella stood a few feet away, her face pale beneath perfect makeup. Around her, Roman's bodyguards stared at Ava like she had become a loaded weapon. Ava did not look at any of them. She ran, past the orchids, past the priest standing with a leather book clutched to his chest, past Roman's half-brother Enzo, whose expression flickered with something that was not surprise. She entered room 901 and stopped at the foot of the bed. Roman Valenti was awake. His eyes were dark, fevered, and terrifyingly focused. The man had been unconscious for 9 days, but somehow he looked less like a patient than a king waking inside a battlefield. His body was strapped with bandages and wires. His left shoulder was immobilized. Bruises shadowed one side of his jaw. An oxygen tube rested beneath his nose. But his eyes, those black, controlled eyes, found Ava, as if the room contained no one else. For a second, she forgot how to breathe. Roman lifted his hand. It trembled with effort. Ava moved toward him before she could stop herself. The room shifted. Bodyguards tensed. Isabella inhaled sharply. Ava reached his bedside. Roman's fingers closed around her wrist. Not softly, not gently, like he was proving she was real. His thumb pressed over her pulse. The machines beeped faster. You were gone, he rasped. Ava swallowed. I was locked in the storage room. A dangerous silence fell. Roman's gaze moved from Ava's face to the hallway, then to Isabella. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Who locked my nurse away? Nobody answered. Roman's eyes returned to Ava, and for one impossible moment, the violence in him softened into something more frightening than tenderness. Recognition. Dependence. Need. Ava felt it like a hand closing around her heart. Then Roman looked past her. Everyone out. Enzo stepped forward. He was younger than Roman by maybe 7 years. Handsome in a restless, polished way. Roman, you just woke up. We need to discuss. Roman did not raise his voice. I said out. The bodyguards moved first. Not because Roman was strong enough to enforce the order, because every man in that room remembered what he was when he stood on 2 feet. Within seconds, the room emptied, leaving only Ava, Roman, and the machines keeping rhythm between them. Ava should have stepped back. She should have remembered her job, her license, the lines she could not cross. Instead, she checked his pupils with hands that betrayed her by trembling. Do you know where you are? She asked. His gaze stayed on her. Saint Aurelia. Do you know your name? His mouth curved faintly. Roman Valenti. Do you know what happened? The faint curve vanished. His eyes went colder. I know enough. Ava looked toward the hallway, where shadows moved behind the glass. You need rest. Your vitals are unstable. And you shouldn't be speaking yet. I heard you. Her hands stilled. Roman's voice dropped into something almost inaudible. When I couldn't open my eyes, I heard your voice. Ava tried to answer, but nothing came. You told them I was still fighting, he said. Her throat tightened. Because you were. You told me not to leave. She remembered the night his fever spiked, when the room had emptied and exhaustion had lowered her guard. She had stood beside him, holding his hand because nobody else was there, and whispered, You don't get to die just because everyone expects you to. Heat rose behind her eyes. I say a lot of things to unconscious patients. No. His fingers tightened around her wrist. You said it like you meant it. Ava looked down at his hand. It was large, bruised, scarred across the knuckles, a hand that had probably signed death warrants with the same calm it now used to hold her steady. You should let go, she whispered. He did not. Instead, his gaze moved to the storage room door, visible through the hallway glass. Ava felt the moment he understood. Not just that Isabella had humiliated her, but that Isabella had been trying to erase her. Roman's voice changed. It became quiet enough to be intimate and cold enough to be a threat. No one locks you away from me again. Ava's pulse jumped beneath his thumb. She should have been afraid. She was afraid. But beneath the fear, something else opened. Something dangerous. Something warm. Something she had no business feeling for a man whose name made entire rooms lower their voices. I'm your nurse, she said carefully. Roman's eyes did not release her. Not anymore. Ava's breath caught. Then the door opened behind her. Isabella stood there with 2 doctors and a smile forced back into place. Roman, she said, voice trembling just enough to sound emotional. Thank God. Roman did not look at her. He kept looking at Ava. And when Isabella stepped closer, he said one sentence that split the room open. Touch Ava again, and our engagement ends with your family buried. The doctor went pale. Ava's heart slammed against her ribs. Isabella stopped smiling. Roman finally looked at his fiancée. I may be injured, he said softly. I am not dead. The scandal began before sunset. By 6 o'clock, half of Boston's private elite knew Roman Valenti had awakened inside St. Aurelia's sealed 9th floor. By 7, someone had leaked that his first word had not been Isabella. By 8, grainy security footage of Roman's bodyguards dragging a hospital administrator into an elevator had spread through encrypted channels Ava never knew existed. By 9, Ava Reed was no longer just a nurse. She was a problem. She discovered that when she left the staff locker room and found two black SUVs waiting outside the hospital entrance. Rain slid down their tinted windows. Ava stopped beneath the awning. Her shift had ended 20 minutes ago, though her body did not believe it. Her feet ached. Her hair had slipped loose from its clip. The sleeve of her scrub top still carried a faint stain from Romanesque medication. All she wanted was to get home before Lily woke from another nightmare. But one of Romanesque's men stepped away from the first SUV. He was broad, silent, and built like a locked door. Miss Reed. Ava gripped the strap of her bag. No. The man blinked. I haven't said anything. You don't have to. The answer is no. Mr. Valenti requested Mr. Valenti can request a pudding cup and a pillow adjustment. He cannot request me into a car. The man's mouth twitched like he wanted to smile, but remembered his profession. He said you would say that? Good. Then he can enjoy being right. Ava stepped around him. The rear door of the SUV opened. Roman sat inside. He should not have been there. He should not have been upright. He should not have been out of bed 9 days after nearly dying. But Roman Valenti sat in the dark interior of the vehicle, wearing a black coat over hospital bandages. His face pale, his eyes steady, and an IV port still taped to his hand. Ava froze in the rain. What are you doing? She whispered. Leaving? You are absolutely not leaving. I already left. You have internal injuries. I have enemies with better access to that hospital than my doctors. Ava moved closer despite herself. Then increased security. Transfer facilities. You can just walk out. Romanesque's gaze dropped briefly to the rain, darkening her scrubs. Then back to her face. You were locked in a storage room 20 feet from my bed. That was Isabella. That was access. Ava hated that he was right. Roman leaned slightly forward, and the movement cost him. She saw it in the faint tightening around his mouth. The brief flicker of pain he crushed before anyone else could notice. You need medical supervision, she said. I have a doctor waiting. Then why are you here? The rain filled the silence between them. Romanesque's eyes did not blink. Because Isabella knows your name now. Ava's stomach tightened. She already knew my name. No. Roman said. Now she knows I said it. Ava looked away toward the street, where headlights smeared across wet pavement, somewhere beyond the city. A 5-year-old girl slept in a small apartment under a nightlight shaped like a moon. Lily did not know anything about mafia families, hospital scandals, or men who woke from comas asking for women they should not need. Ava had worked hard to keep her world small, quiet, safe. Roman Valenti had just cracked it open. I'm going home, she said. Romanesque's gaze sharpened. Who is there? Ava went still. Excuse me. You looked afraid when I mentioned Isabella. Not for yourself. Ava hated him then. Not because he was cruel, but because he was observant in a way that felt like being touched. That's none of your business. Everything that puts you in danger is my business tonight. No. Ava stepped back. You don't get to wake up, threaten your fiancé, walk out of a hospital against medical advice, and decide I belong under your protection. Roman watched her in silence. Then he said, I decide many things people dislike, and I'm sure that works very well on people who fear you. You don't? Ava looked directly at him. I'm terrified of you. Something moved in his eyes. Not offense. Interest. But I'm more terrified of becoming one of those women who gets swallowed by a powerful man and calls it safety. Romanesque's expression did not change, but the air inside the SUV seemed to tighten. Ava expected anger. Instead, he said quietly, Good. She blinked. Romanesque held hers. Stay afraid enough to tell me no. It may keep you alive. Before she could answer, his phone rang. The man beside the SUV answered it, listened. and went rigid. Roman's sighs moved to him. What? The bodyguard lowered the phone slowly. Her apartment building has a visitor. Ava's blood went cold. Roman looked back at her. You said no to the car. He said, say it again after I tell you the visitor is Isabella's man. Ava did not remember getting into the SUV. She remembered rain on leather, Roman's hand gripping the edge of the seat when pain hit him too hard. The city turning into streaks of silver and red through tinted glass. Her own voice giving her address before pride could stop her. She remembered calling Mrs. Alvarez, the elderly neighbor who watched Lily during night shifts, and trying to sound calm. No answer. She called again. Nothing. By the time the SUVs turned onto her street in South Boston, Ava had stopped breathing normally. Her apartment building was old brick, with a broken front step and a flickering hallway light that her landlord promised to fix every month. It looked painfully ordinary between the black vehicles sliding to the curb. Roman's men moved first. Ava reached for the door, but Roman caught her wrist. The contact was immediate, electric, familiar in a way it should not have been. Wait, he said. My niece is inside. His eyes darkened. Niece? Ava's chest tightened. She's 5. Roman's hand released her slowly. For the first time since waking, something like genuine shock crossed his face. Almost too fast to see, Ava did not have time to understand it. She pushed out of the SUV and ran. One of Roman's men cursed and followed. The building door stood open. Ava took the stairs 2 at a time. On the second-floor landing, Mrs. Alvarez stood shaking in a robe, clutching a rosary. Her cheek was red. Ava's heart broke before the woman spoke. They took her. Mrs. Alvarez whispered, Ava, I'm sorry. He said he was from the hospital. He said you had an accident. The hallway tilted. Ava grabbed the wall. No. Roman appeared behind her, moving too fast for a man who should have been in bed. 2 bodyguards flanked him, but he barely seemed to notice them. Ava turned on him. You said Isabella's man was here. Roman's jaw tightened. He took Lily? Ava, no. Her voice cracked. No. Don't say my name like that. You brought this to my door. Roman went very still. The accusation struck the room harder than shouting. Rainwater dripped from his black coat onto the hallway floor. His face was pale with pain, but his eyes did not look away from hers. You rewrite, he said. Ava's anger faltered because she had expected denial. Roman stepped closer. I brought danger to your door by saying your name in front of wolves. Ava S. Eyes burned. She's a child. I'll bring her back. You don't even know her. Roman's expression changed. Not much. Just enough. Ava saw it and went cold. What she whispered? Roman looked toward his men. Clear the apartment. Roman. He closed his eyes briefly. And when he opened them, something old and heavy waited there. There are things I could not tell you in the hospital. Ava's stomach turned. What does Lily have to do with you? Roman's silence was answer enough to make fear bloom into something sharper. Ava stepped back. No, she is not my daughter. Roman said immediately. Ava's breath shook. She is the daughter of Daniel Reed. Ava froze. Her brother-in-law's name had not been spoken in her apartment for 2 years. Daniel Reed, who died in a warehouse fire 3 days after Ava's sister. Daniel Reed, whom police described as a small-time accountant unlucky enough to work for dangerous people. Daniel Reed, whose daughter Ava had taken in because there was no one else left. Roman's voice lowered. Daniel worked for me. The hallway disappeared. Ava heard only the rain and her own pulse. You knew my family. I knew your brother-in-law. You knew Lily existed. Roman's jaw flexed. Yes. Ava stared at him as if he had become a stranger all over again. All this time, I made sure the apartment stayed off certain records. I paid the landlord through a shell company to keep rent low. I had your building watched from a distance after Daniel died. Ava slapped him. The sound cracked through the hallway. Every bodyguard froze. Roman's head turned slightly with the impact. Ava's hand stung. Tears blurred her vision. But her voice came out clear. You had us watched. Roman slowly looked back at her. Yes. You let me struggle. You let me work double shifts. You let Lily cry for her mother in an apartment with broken heat. And you were watching. Pain moved through Roman's face, then not physical. Not from the slap. Something worse. I thought distance protected you. Distance protected your guilt. He did not answer. Ava hated that silence. Hated his control. Hated the way he stood there, bleeding under his coat, while her world collapsed around him. Daniel was killed because of you. It wasn't he. Roman's eyes darkened. Daniel was killed because he found evidence that my alliance with the Conti family was built on a lie. He was going to bring it to me. Someone found out before he could. Isabella. Her father. Maybe her. Maybe someone closer. Ava's breath caught. Closer, Roman looked toward the stairwell, where the City-S sirens wailed faintly below. My brother was the only one who knew Daniel was meeting me that night. Enzo, the handsome half-brother in the hospital room, the one who had not looked surprised when Roman asked for Ava. Ava felt the shape of the trap too late. Roman had not awakened into a hospital. He had awakened into a war. And Isabella had taken Lily because Lily was the last living thread connected to Daniel Reed's evidence. A phone buzzed in Roman's coat. One of his men handed it to him. Roman looked at the screen. His face became unreadable. He turned it so Ava could see. A photo. Lily sat in the back seat of a car wearing her yellow raincoat. Clutching the stuffed rabbit Ava had sewn twice at the ear. Her eyes were wide and wet. Below the photo was a message. Bring the nurse. Coma alone. Midnight. Old Harbor Chapel. Ava made a sound that did not feel human. Roman's hand closed around the phone until the screen cracked. For a moment. The hallway seemed too small for him. Then he looked at Ava. Every trace of weakness was gone. I will burn Boston down before I let them keep her. Ava wanted to believe him. God help her. She did. But trust had become a luxury. You're re-injured. She said, yes. You may collapse before midnight. Then keep me standing. Ava stared at him. Roman stepped closer, stopping just short of touching her. Come with me because Lily needs you. Hate me after. Her heart twisted. You were asking me to trust the man who hid the truth about my family. No. His eyes held hers. I am asking you to use me. That should not have shaken her. But it did. Because Roman Valenti did not sound like a man offering comfort. He sounded like a weapon laying itself at her feet. The safe house sat above the Atlantic on a private road outside Marblehead, hidden behind black iron gates and wind-twisted pines. By the time they arrived, the storm had grown violent enough to make the windows shudder. The mansion was all stone, glass, and shadow, a place too beautiful to be called shelter and too guarded to be called home. Ava entered with Roman's blood pressure cuff in one hand and Lily's photo burning in her mind. Men moved everywhere. Armed men in dark suits. Men whispering into radios. Men laying weapons across a dining table beneath a chandelier bright enough for a royal banquet. Ava had stepped into Roman Valenti's world, and it was colder than she imagined. Roman allowed a doctor to check him for exactly 3 minutes before dismissing him. Ava overruled him. You were not going anywhere until I examine your incision. The room went silent. Roman sat in a leather chair near the fireplace, his shirt open where the doctor had checked his bandages. He looked up at Ava. and the firelight carved sharp shadows beneath his cheekbones. Several men stared at her as if she had just insulted a loaded gun. Roman said nothing. Ava folded her arms. You said keep you standing. I can do that if you bleed internally because you're too arrogant to sit still. A beat passed. Then Roman leaned back. Everyone out. His men obeyed. When the room emptied, Ava approached with medical supplies from the emergency kit. Her hands were steady now because she had made them that way. Fear could wait. Panic could wait. Lily could not. Roman watched her clean the edge of his bandage. You're angry, he said. Ava almost laughed. My niece was kidnapped. My patient is a mafia boss. My dead brother-in-law worked for you. And your fiancé locked me in a storage room to stage a hospital wedding. Angry feels small. Roman accepted that. She peeled the bandage back. The wound was inflamed but not reopened. His skin was hot beneath her fingers. You have a fever. IV had worse. I don't care. That made his eyes lift to hers. Ava realized too late how it sounded. The space between them tightened. Not soft. Not romantic. Dangerous. He sat half-dressed beneath firelight. Scarred and pale and powerful, even weakened. She stood close enough to feel the heat of his body, close enough to remember his hand around her wrist, his voice saying her name like it had dragged him out of death. Ava looked away first. Roman did not. You should not have been at St. Aurelia, he said. I work there. Not on my floor. I picked up the extra shifts because they paid double. His mouth tightened. Of course. Money again. The ordinary kind of desperation men like Roman could erase with one signature, and yet somehow never understood until it stood in front of them, wearing tired eyes. I should have known, he said. Yes, Ava replied. You should have. Silence settled. Then Roman said, Daniel begged me not to contact your family. Ava's hands paused. He knew. He knew the Countess had people everywhere. Police. Hospitals. Courts. He said if anything happened to him, I was to keep Lily invisible. Not comfortable. Ava swallowed hard. He said that Roman-esque gaze softened by 1 degree. He said comfort makes people visible. He said you would hate being helped. He was right. Ava looked down. Her anger did not vanish. It changed shape, became heavier, more complicated. Did he leave anything behind? She asked. Roman-esque eyes sharpened. Yes. Where he hid evidence before he died. I never found it. Then why would they take Lily? Because they think you know where it is. Dawn. They may not believe that. The fire snapped. Ava's breath trembled. Roman reached toward her, then stopped himself before his fingers touched her hand. The restraint hurt more than contact would have. I will get her back, he said. Ava looked at him. For the first time, she saw not just power, but fear buried beneath it. Not fear of death, not fear of losing territory, fear of failing a child he had already failed once. You cared about Daniel, she said quietly. Roman-esque jaw tightened. He was loyal. That's not what I asked. His eyes moved toward the storm-dark window. He was my friend before I became the kind of man who was no longer allowed to have them. Ava's throat tightened despite herself. Then the doors opened, and one of Roman's men entered. Boss. Roman-esque expression shut down. The man glanced at Ava, then back to Roman. Enzo is on the news. Ava followed Roman into the media room, where a wall-sized television showed a breaking local report. Footage played outside St. Aurelia. Reporters shouted beneath umbrellas. Then Enzo Valenti appeared at a podium, looking devastated and dignified in a black suit. A caption beneath him read, Valenti family denies kidnapping rumors. Questions. Nurse S. Relationship with crime boss. Ava's blood went cold. Enzo spoke smoothly. My brother is medically vulnerable. We are concerned that a nurse assigned to his care may have manipulated him during his unconscious state. Roman was removed from the hospital against medical advice. We ask for privacy and cooperation in returning him to proper medical care. Ava felt every eye in the room turn toward her. On screen, a blurry photo appeared. Ava entering Roman's SUV. The headline changed. Mystery nurse at center of Mafia hospital scandal. Ava stepped back. No. Roman's face remained still, but the air around him turned lethal. Enzo had not just moved against Roman, he had exposed Ava, made her look like a manipulator, made every police officer, reporter, and rival criminal in the city search for her face. Then Isabella appeared beside Enzo. Her eyes looked red, her voice broken with perfect grief. I only want Roman safe, she said. He is not himself. That woman has isolated him from his family. Ava's hands went cold. Roman turned off the screen. The silence afterward was worse. Ava looked at him. You said your name put me in danger. Roman's Gaza met hers. I underestimated them. Then don't do it again. I won. There was something final in his voice. Not promise. Punishment. Ava stepped closer. What does that mean, Roman? Looked to his men. Find the reporter who received the footage. Find the staff member who sold it. Find every officer who repeats Enzo's statement before midnight. His men moved. Ava caught his arm. Roman looked down at her hand on his sleeve. The room froze again. Ava did not let go. Roman. His eyes returned to hers. You cannot kill your way out of every problem. No, he said softly, but I can make people afraid to create new ones. That is not the same thing as saving Lily. His expression changed. A flash of anger. Not at her. At being seen. Ava lowered her voice. She needs us thinking clearly. Not reacting. Roman looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to his men. No unnecessary bodies. One of them blinked. Roman's voice dropped. Do not make me repeat myself. The men nodded quickly and left. Ava released his arm. Roman looked at the place where her hand had been. You give orders in my house now. Ava's pulse jumped. I give medical advice. That was not medical. No, she said. That was human. For a second, something almost like admiration moved across his face. Then the front gates exploded. Not with fire, with impact. Metal screamed through the storm. The lights flickered. Every man in the house drew a weapon. Ava's heart slammed into her ribs. Roman moved before anyone could stop him. Grabbing a gun from the table with his injured hand, Ava seized his wrist. You can barely stand. His eyes burned into hers. Then stay behind me. The first bullets hit the glass. Ava ducked as the window shattered inward. Rain and cold air bursting through the room. Roman pulled her down behind the marble bar, his body covering hers as fragments scattered across the floor. The sound was deafening. Gunfire. Shouting. The deep roar of engines outside. Ava smelled rain, smoke, and Roman's skin fever hot. Sharp with antiseptic and expensive cologne beneath the blood and storm. He pressed her lower with one hand between her shoulder blades. Do not move. She should have been frozen. Instead, her training took over. A man dropped near the doorway, hit in the shoulder. Cursing, Ava crawled toward him. Roman caught her waist. Ava. He's bleeding. He's not worth your life. He is if he's alive. Roman stared at her like he hated and wanted that answer at the same time. Then he shifted, covering her as she dragged the wounded guard behind the bar. Bullets struck the marble above them. Roman fired twice without looking panicked, without wasting movement. Every inch of him controlled fury. Ava pressed gauze to the guard's shoulder. The man looked at her in shock. Nobody in Roman Valenti's world expected mercy during gunfire. Roman did. That was the disturbing part. He watched Ava save his man with an expression that turned more dangerous by the second. Not because he disapproved, because every act of compassion made him more attached. The attack ended in 7 minutes. It felt like an hour. When silence finally returned, the mansion looked wounded. Glass glittered across the floor. Rain blew through torn curtains. 3 SUVs burned near the gate. Roman stood amid the wreckage. One hand pressed to his side. His gun lowered. Ava rose slowly. His shirt was dark near the bandage. "You're bleeding." Roman glanced down. Annoyed, as if his body had inconvenienced him, Ava rushed to him. "Sit down." He swayed, just slightly, enough to terrify her. Roman, his eyes found hers. For one stripped-down second, the Mafia Boss vanished, and only the injured man remained. Pale, fevered, held upright by pride and rage. Then his knees buckled. Ava caught him badly, both of them sinking to the floor among broken glass. Men rushed forward. Ava shouted instructions. "Pressure bandage. Now, bring the IV kit, and somebody close those curtains before he goes into shock." No one moved fast enough. She looked up with tears in her eyes and fury in her voice. Now, they moved. Roman watched her through half-lowered eyes. "Bossy," he murmured. "Don't you dare flirt while bleeding." His mouth curved faintly. "I was obeying." Ava pressed gauze to his side, her hands shaking now that the bullets had stopped. Roman lifted his hand toward her face. He stopped an inch from her cheek. That restraint again, that terrible, almost, touch. Ava looked at his hand, then at his eyes. Outside, thunder rolled over the ocean. Inside, surrounded by bloodless violence and broken luxury. Ava realized something that frightened her more than gunfire. She wanted him to touch her. Roman saw the realization. His eyes darkened. But he lowered his hand. "Not like this," he said. Ava's breath caught. "Like what?" His gaze moved over her face with controlled hunger. "Like you have nowhere else to run." Before she could answer, his phone buzzed again. Ava picked it up from the floor. Another message. A video this time. Lily sat in an old church pew, crying quietly. Beside her, a woman's hand stroked her hair. Isabella's voice came through the speaker. "Midnight is still midnight. Roman, bring Ava. No army. No tricks. And tell the nurse to bring what Daniel died hiding." The video ended. Ava's heart shattered in silence. Roman's expression became something carved from stone. He reached for the phone. Ava pulled it back. "No." His eyes lifted. Ava stood, shaking but steady. "They want me. Then I go." Roman's voice turned deadly soft. "Absolutely not. You just said they think I know where the evidence is. Maybe I can make them believe I'm useful long enough to get Lily close. They will hurt you. They already hurt her." Roman stood too fast and nearly collapsed again. Ava caught his arm. His face was inches from hers. "No," he said. The word was not loud. It was worse. It was possession stripped bare. Ava's voice trembled. "She is my child in every way that matters." Roman froze. The fury in him shifted. Ava swallowed. "I know she's my niece. I know I didn't give birth to her. But when she has nightmares, she calls for me. When she loses a tooth, I'm the one who saves it in a little envelope. When she asks why her mother never came home, I'm the one who lies because the truth is too ugly for a 5-year-old. Her tears spilled now. So do not stand there and tell me I can walk into danger for her. I already live there. Roman looked at her as if something inside him had been cut open. Then he did touch her. Not her face, not her waist, only her hand. He wrapped his fingers around hers with devastating care. I will not lose you both. Ava closed her eyes. There it was. Too much. Too soon. Not love. Not yet. Something darker. A fear that had nowhere safe to go. When she opened her eyes, Roman was still watching her. You don't get to say that, she whispered. I know. You don't know me. I know your voice pulled me out of death. That isn't the same. No, he said. It is worse. Ava's heart beat hard enough to hurt. Then Roman released her hand and turned to his men. We go to the chapel. Ava's breath caught. Roman looked back at her. But we do it my way. Old Harbor Chapel had been abandoned for 12 years. It stood near the water where Boston's old industrial edge met the black Atlantic. Its stone walls stained by salt. Its stained glass windows boarded except for one broken angel above the entrance. At midnight, the storm turned the chapel into a ghost. Ava sat in the passenger seat of an old ambulance Roman had stolen from his own private medical wing. Her hair was tucked beneath a paramedic cap. A fake blood bag sat in the cooler by her feet. Beneath her coat, a thin vest hugged her ribs. Roman sat beside her, dressed in black, feverish and silent. You look terrible, Ava said. His eyes shifted toward her. Your bedside manner needs work. You should be in ICU. You should be far away from me. She looked through the rain-streaked windshield. Too late. He did not answer. That silence hurt more than it should. Around them, Roman's men waited beyond sight. Not close enough to be detected. Close enough to turn the harbor into a graveyard if something went wrong. Ava held Daniel Reed's old keychain in her palm. Roman-esque people had searched her apartment before leaving. Not to steal. To find anything Daniel might have left. In a box of Lily-esque baby clothes, Ava had found a small silver lighthouse charm she had always assumed belonged to her sister. Roman recognized it immediately. A bank key. Not for money, for information. Daniel had hidden the evidence inside a private deposit box under Ava's name without ever telling her. That was what Isabella wanted. That was what Enzo wanted. And now Ava carried a copy of the contents on a tiny drive hidden inside the seam of her sleeve. The real files had already been sent to 3 places Roman refused to name. You're sure Lily is inside? Ava asked. Roman looked toward the chapel. Yes. How? His mouth tightened. Because Isabella wants an audience. Ava glanced at him. What does she want from you? Roman's eyes remained on the chapel. My name? My empire. My silence. And if she can have them, then she wants witnesses when I break. Ava's chest tightened. Do you? He looked at her then. Break. She nodded. Rain moved down the glass between them. Roman's voice dropped. I did once. When? The night Daniel died. Ava went still. Roman looked back toward the chapel. He called me at 1:42. Said he had proof. Said Enzo had been meeting Conti men behind my back. I was 10 minutes away when the warehouse burned. His jaw tightened. I heard Lily crying on a voicemail in the background. Daniel had recorded it by accident before he left home. She was 2 years old. She kept saying, Daddy, come back. Ava's eyes filled. Roman's hand flexed on his knee. I saved the voicemail. Listened to it once. Never again. Why are you telling me this now? Because if I die tonight, you deserve to know I did not forget them. Ava looked at him. The chapel bell tower groaned in the wind. You're not dying tonight, she said. Roman's eyes found hers. No, no. You always this stubborn with patience. Only the arrogant ones. A faint warmth touched his expression. gone almost immediately. Then he reached into his coat and took out a small velvet pouch. Ava frowned. What is that? Insurance? He placed it in her hand. Inside was a ring. Not Isabella's engagement ring. This one was older. Masculine. Heavy with the Valenti crest pressed into dark gold. My father's ring, Roman said. If something happens to me, give this to Matteo Greco. Only him. He commands the old families. He will protect you and Lily. Ava closed her fingers around it. I don't want your ring. I know. I don't want your empire. I know. I want the child inside that chapel. Roman's gaze burned into hers. Then let me be what gets her out. Before Ava could answer, headlights flashed once near the chapel entrance. The signal. Roman opened the ambulance door. Rain and cold rushed in. Ava grabbed his sleeve. He looked back. For 1 second. All the things neither of them could say stood between them. Fear, anger, want, trust, fragile and unwilling. Ava let go. Don't make me save you twice tonight, she whispered. Roman's eyes darkened. Bring me back once more. Ava Reed. And I may never let you go. Then he stepped into the storm. Inside, the chapel smelled of salt, mold, candle wax, and old prayers. Dozens of candles burned along the aisle, their light trembling over broken pews and cracked saints. Armed men stood beneath the shadows. Some Conti, some Valenti, all pretending loyalty still meant something. At the altar, Isabella waited in white, not a wedding dress. Something close enough to make Ava's stomach turn. Elegant white silk, pearls at her throat, red lipstick like a wound. Lily sat beside her on the altar steps, wrapped in a blanket. Her small face blotchy from crying. Aunt Ava, Lily cried. Ava moved forward instinctively. A gun lifted. Roman's hand closed around Ava's arm, stopping her. His face was calm. Too calm. Isabella smiled. Roman, you look dead. Disappointing you has become a habit. Her smile hardened. Then her eyes moved to Ava. And you brought the nurse. How romantic. Ava could barely breathe with Lily so close. I have what you want, she said. Isabella tilted her head. Do you? Ava lifted the small drive between two fingers. The chapel shifted. Men looked. Enzo stepped out from behind a pillar. Ava's heart stopped. There he was. Roman's brother. Clean suit. Calm fascia. Dead eyes. Roman did not look surprised. Enzo smiled faintly. Brother. Roman's voice remained even. You always did love dramatic entrances. And you always did love broken things. Enzo's gazes slid to Ava. Wounded dogs. Loyal accountants. Nurses who think kindness makes them brave. Ava felt Roman's body change beside her. Not movement. Readiness. Isabella noticed too. She laughed. Careful. Roman, you were barely standing. Don't waste your last strength defending hospital staff. Roman's eyes never left Enzo. You arranged the bridge. Enzo hid. I arranged an opportunity. You survived it. As usual, you killed Daniel. No. Enzo said. Conti men killed Daniel. I merely told them where loyalty had become inconvenient. Ava's vision blurred red around the edges. Lily whimpered. Ava forced herself to stay still. Roman's voice went lower. Why Enzo's composure cracked for 1 second? Because father gave you everything. The name. The men. The fear. Even when I was the one willing to do what you hesitated to do. Roman's mouth tightened. You call betrayal ambition because cowardice sounds too honest. Enzo's eyes flashed. Isabella stepped between them. Enough family therapy. The drive. Ava. Ava looked at Lily. Let her walk to me first. Isabella smiled. No, Roman said softly. Isabella. She turned to him. I would choose your next word carefully. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. Roman took one step forward. Every gun rose. He ignored them. You wanted my empire, he said. You could have asked your father for one. Instead, you borrowed your spine from men who hide behind children. Isabella's cheeks flushed. Ava saw the crack. The pride. The vanity. Roman saw it too. He was not just threatening her. He was pulling her attention away from Lily. Ava slowly slid one hand into her sleeve. Enzo noticed. His gun lifted toward Ava. Roman moved faster than an injured man should have. He stepped in front of her. The shot rang out. Ava screamed. Roman staggered but did not fall. Chaos erupted. The chapel exploded into gunfire and shouts as Romanesque men crashed through side entrances and shattered windows. Candles toppled. Smoke curled through the nave. Lily screamed. Ava ran. Not away. Toward the altar. Isabella grabbed Lily by the shoulders. But Ava slammed into her with every ounce of fear and fury in her body. Both women hit the floor. The drive skidded across the stone. Lily crawled beneath a pew. Sobbing. Ava Roman shouted. Ava rolled as Isabella grabbed her hair. You ruined everything. Isabella hissed. Ava struck her across the face. No, Ava said, breathless. You did. Isabella reached for a fallen gun. Ava kicked it away. Then Enzo grabbed Ava from behind. His arm locked around her throat. The chapel seemed to narrow to Roman's face. He stood halfway down the aisle, bleeding through his black coat. Gun in hand, eyes fixed on Ava with a terror so controlled it looked like murder. Enzo pressed a gun to Ava's side. Drop it, he said. Roman did not move. Drop it, or I put her beside Daniel. Ava could barely breathe. Romanesque's hand tightened around his gun. His eyes met hers. In them, Ava saw the choice destroying him. His empire. His revenge. Her life. Ava managed one word. Lily. Romanesque's gaze flicked to the pew where the child hid. Then back to Ava. Slowly. He lowered his gun. Enzo smiled. There he is. The great Roman Valenti. Kneeling for a nurse. Romanesque's voice was calm, not kneeling. His eyes shifted past Enzo. Waiting. Before Enzo could turn, Lily came out from beneath the pew and threw the heavy Valenti ring Ava had dropped earlier. It struck Enzo's face. Not hard enough to hurt, hard enough to startle. Ava drove her elbow backward into his ribs and dropped. Roman fired once. The gun flew from Enzo's hand. Roman crossed the distance like pain no longer applied to him. He hit Enzo so hard the younger man fell against the altar steps. Ava grabbed Lily and pulled her close, covering her ears. Roman stood over his brother. Every man in the chapel seemed to stop. Enzo laughed weakly, bloodless and bitter. Do it. He spat. Show her what you are. Romanesque's gun pointed at him. Ava held Lily. Shaking, Roman looked at Enzo, then at Ava. The entire chapel held its breath. Roman lowered the gun. No, he said. Enzo's smile faltered. Roman's voice was colder than killing. You don't get to become a ghost in my house. You will live long enough to lose everything with your eyes open. His men seized Enzo. Isabella tried to crawl away. Ava saw her first. So did Roman. Isabella froze beneath his gaze. Her beauty was ruined now by terror. Roman, she whispered. Please. He walked toward her slowly. You locked Ava in a storage room. Isabella shook her head. You would kill me for that. Roman crouched in front of her, wincing from the movement, but refusing to show it. No, he said softly. For that, I would have ended the engagement. His eyes turned black. You touched the child. Isabella began to cry. Roman looked to his men. Take her to her father. Relief flashed across her face. Then Roman added, alive, with the evidence. Let him see what his daughter cost him before the old family's vote. The relief vanished. Isabella understood. Roman was not killing her. He was returning her as proof of betrayal to men who valued reputation more than blood. Ava should have felt satisfaction. She felt only exhausted. Lily clung to her neck. Ain't Ava. Can we go home? Ava closed her eyes. Home. The small apartment with broken heat. The moon, nightlight. The life she had fought so hard to keep ordinary. It felt impossibly far away. Roman turned at the sound of Lily's voice. His face changed. The cold violence drained back behind the wall, leaving something solemn and wounded. He approached slowly, lowering himself to one knee several feet away so he would not tower over the child. Ava watched him carefully. Roman looked at Lily. I knew your father, he said. Lily sniffed. Was he brave? Roman's throat moved. Yes. Did he come back? Ava's heart broke. Roman's eyes lifted briefly to Ava's scent. Then he looked at Lily again. No, he said quietly. But he sent people to love you. Lily looked at Ava. Ava kissed her hair. Roman lowered his gaze. In that moment, Ava understood something that hurt. Roman Valenti could command killers. He could frighten entire cities. He could survive bullets, betrayal, and bloodlines built on war. But he did not know how to forgive himself for one child's grief. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Roman's men moved fast, cleaning weapons, securing exits, making calls that would turn the night's violence into something officially vague. Ava rose with Lily in her arms. Roman tried to stand. His face went gray. Ava saw it too late. He collapsed beside the altar. The next time Roman woke, Ava was asleep in a chair beside his bed. Not at St. Aurelia. Never again. There. This room belonged to Matteo Greco, the old family mediator, whose private estate outside Providence had more medical equipment than most clinics and more guards than a courthouse. Dawn pressed pale gold against the curtains. Ava's head rested against the chair back. Lily slept curled under a blanket on the couch across the room, one hand still holding the stuffed rabbit. A fresh bandage crossed Ava's temple where she had hit the chapel floor. There were shadows beneath her eyes deep enough to make Roman's chest tighten. He remembered the chapel. Enzo. Isabella. Ava's face when the gun touched her. The sound of Lily crying. Then nothing. Roman shifted. Pain tore through him. Ava woke instantly. Of course she did. Her eyes locked on him. Relief flashed there before she buried it beneath professionalism. You reawake. So are you. I wasn't shot twice. Technically, once tonight. Do not be clever. His mouth almost curved. She stood and checked his pulse with cool fingers. Roman watched her. In the quiet dawn, without gunfire or witnesses. Ava looked younger. Not weak. Never weak. But tired in a way he wanted to punish the world for causing. You should have left, he said. Her fingers paused against his wrist. Lily needed rest. That is not what I meant. I know. Their eyes met. Ava released his wrist and stepped back. The distance felt deliberate. Roman accepted it because he deserved worse. Enzo, he asked, in custody. If your version of custody counts, it does. Isabella, delivered to her father. Ava looked disturbed. Roman watched her face. You disapprove. I don't know what I approve of anymore. That answer landed harder than accusation. Ava crossed her arms. The evidence Daniel hid went public this morning. Not all of it. Enough. Police are pretending they discovered it independently. News stations are calling it a corruption scandal. The Conti family is being raided. Enzo has been named as a person of interest. Isabella's engagement photos have vanished from every society website. Roman absorbed this. Good. Ava's expression tightened. Good is one word for it. What would you call it? She looked toward Lily sleeping on the couch. Late. Roman said nothing. Ava's voice softened, which made it worse. All of this came too late for Daniel. Too late for my sister. Almost too late for Lily. Roman stared at the ceiling. Yes, I don't know how to forgive that. I did not ask you to. Her eyes returned to him. Roman forced himself to look at her. I will arrange protection for you and Lily. Real protection, not hidden surveillance. A new apartment. New documents if you want them. Money Daniel earned and never received. You will not owe me anything. Ava's face changed. What about you, Roman? Hand tightened beneath the blanket. What about me? Do you go back to being feared in rooms I'll never enter? He was quiet for a long time. That would be safest. For who? For you. Ava let out a breath that was almost a laugh and almost pain. There it is again. Men deciding distance is love. Roman flinched. She saw it. He hated that too. Ava came closer, stopping beside the bed but not touching him. You don't get to lock me out of my own choices because you're afraid of what your world does to people. Roman's voice roughened. My world took your family. Your silence helped it. Yes, and your choices last night saved what was left. He looked at her. Ava's eyes shone but did not break. I can be angry and grateful at the same time. I can fear you and trust you at the same time. I can want distance and still. She stopped. The unfinished words entered the room like a storm. Roman's heart beat once. Hard. Still, what he asked. Ava looked away. Lily stirred on the couch. And the moment broke. Ava stepped back immediately. I need to make breakfast when she wakes up. There is a chef. She likes pancakes shaped like bears. I will buy a chef who can make bears. Despite everything. Ava almost smiled. Roman saw it. The smallness of it destroyed him. Then she gathered herself. I'm not staying here forever. I know. I'm not becoming your kept woman in some mansion behind gates. I know. And Lily is not growing up in a war. Roman held her gaze. No. Ava studied him. Can you promise that? The honest answer cost him. No. Her face fell slightly. Roman continued, but I can promise I will not lie to you again to make danger look smaller. Ava was quiet. Then she nodded once. It was not forgiveness, but it was not goodbye. 3 weeks passed before Ava returned to the hospital. Not St. Aurelia. She resigned from there with one email and no regret. She began working part-time at a small rehabilitation clinic near Cambridge. The kind of place where patients argued about parking and insurance instead of assassination attempts. Lily started kindergarten under Ava's last name. Not hidden. Not erased. Protected in ways Ava did not ask about unless she needed to. The apartment with broken heat was gone. Ava moved into a modest brick townhouse with blue shutters, a fenced backyard, and a bedroom Lily painted yellow. The deed was in a trust Daniel had apparently set up before his death. Funded by money Ava had refused until Roman's lawyer showed her proof that none of it came from Roman. Still, she knew his hand had guided it. Roman did not visit. Not at first. He sent no flowers, no jewelry, no dramatic declarations, only practical things. A new lock installed after Ava complained. The first one jammed. A children's therapist whose office had a golden retriever. A sealed envelope containing Daniel S. last letter, recovered from the deposit box. Delivered by Matteo Greco himself. Ava read it alone at the kitchen table after Lily fell asleep. Daniel apologized. He explained what little he could. He asked Ava to raise Lily away from his mistakes. He wrote that Roman Valenti was dangerous but not faithless. If the worst happened. Daniel wrote, "Trust Roman only if he tells you the truth when a lie would be kinder." Ava cried until morning. Roman came back into her life on a rainy Thursday. She found him sitting in a black SUV across from the clinic at 6 in the evening. Not hiding. Not approaching. Just waiting. Ava stood beneath the awning in her coat, watching rain bead on the windshield. After a minute, the rear door opened. Roman stepped out. He looked better and worse. Stronger physically. Paler emotionally. His black coat fell perfectly over a dark suit. The cane in his right hand was elegant. Probably custom-made. But he used it like he hated needing anything. Ava walked toward him. "You look like a man stalking a clinic. I was told sitting outside your workplace without speaking to you is less alarming than entering with armed men. Who told you that, Matteo? He's wise. He's irritating." Ava's mouth softened. Roman watched the almost smile, like a starving man watching light through a window. "Why are you here?" she asked. His answer came after a pause. "You told me not to decide distance was love." Ava's heart shifted painfully. "So you decided surveillance was better?" "No." Roman looked toward the clinic doors, then back at her. "I came to ask permission to speak with you." The words felt strange from him, beautiful because they were difficult. Ava folded her arms. "Yuri speaking. I came to ask if I may take you to dinner." Rain filled the silence. Ava stared at him. "Roman. I know. You are still Roman Valenti." "Yes. And I am still trying to build a normal life." "Yes. Those two things do not fit easily." "No." His honesty unsettled her more than persuasion would have. "Then why ask?" Roman's gaze lowered briefly to the wet pavement. When he looked back, the control was still there. But something raw moved beneath it. "Because I have spent 3 weeks doing what I thought was right and staying away from you. I have negotiated with enemies, removed traitors, buried my engagement without a funeral, rebuilt half my empire while pretending I did not measure every hour by whether you were safe." Ava's breath caught. Roman stepped closer, stopping at a careful distance. "I do not know how to want gently," he said. "I only know I am trying because you deserve more than being taken." Ava could not speak. He continued, voice lower. "I will not ask you to enter my world. I will not ask for Lily's affection. I will not buy your forgiveness. But I am asking for one dinner where you can tell me no as many times as you need to." Ava looked at him standing in the rain. Proud enough to command a city and wounded enough to ask a nurse for permission. The dangerous part was not that she wanted to say yes. The dangerous part was that she knew exactly why. Because Roman did not make her feel small. He made the world feel terrifying. Yes. But when he looked at her, he saw every frightened, furious, compassionate piece of her and did not look away. "Dinner," she said carefully. "One." His eyes changed. Just slightly. Enough to make her pulse quicken. "No bodyguards at the table." She added, "They will be outside." "Across the street." "Across the street." He agreed, clearly hating it. "And no buying the restaurant." A pause. Ava narrowed her eyes. "Roman, I will not buy the restaurant." "Have you already bought it?" "No." She stared. His jaw tightened. "A minority interest is not buying." Ava laughed before she could stop herself. It was small, startled, and real. Roman went still. The rain fell around them. For a moment, he looked almost defenseless, like her laughter had done what bullets could not. Then his expression softened into something restrained and devastating. "There you are," he said quietly. Ava's smile faded, but not from sadness. From the sudden intimacy of being found. Months later, people in Boston still whispered about the Valenti scandal. They whispered about Enzo's trial, Isabella's exile, the Conti family's collapse, and Roman Valenti's mysterious disappearance from the social pages. They whispered about a nurse. Some called Ava Reed a manipulator. Some called her a witness. Some called her the woman who turned a mafia war into a public reckoning. None of them knew the truth. The truth lived in quieter places. In a yellow bedroom where Lily slept without nightmares more often than not. In a clinic where Ava still worked because saving ordinary lives mattered. In a black SUV that never parked directly outside anymore because Roman learned boundaries could be a language of love. In dinners that became walks, walks that became mornings. Mornings that became Roman, standing awkwardly in Ava's kitchen while Lily taught him how to flip bear-shaped pancakes and scolded him for making one look like a monster. He did not become soft. Not to the world. The world still feared Roman Valenti. Men still lowered their voices when he entered rooms. Enemies still disappeared from power with terrifying efficiency. Deals still bent around his name. But with Ava, his violence learned restraint. His protection learned permission. His silence learned truth. And Ava, who had once feared being swallowed by his world, learned that love did not have to mean surrender if the man was willing to kneel at the border and wait. The final night of winter brought them back to the coast. Roman took Ava to the old harbor road where the abandoned chapel had stood. It was gone now, torn down after the investigation. In its place, construction lights glowed over a foundation for something new. Ava stepped out of the car and stared. "What is this?" Roman stood beside her. Cane gone now. Black coat moving in the wind. A clinic. She looked at him. He kept his eyes on the construction site. For children who lose parents to violence, no Valenti name on the building. No cameras. No speeches. Matteo arranged the board. You can have no involvement. Some involvement, or complete control. Your choice. Ava's throat tightened. "Roman, I listened this time," he said. "It is not a gift with chains. It exists whether you forgive me more or less tomorrow." Wind moved between them, carrying the smell of salt and rain. Ava looked at the place where she had almost lost Lily, where Roman had almost died, where betrayal had finally been dragged into candlelight. Now something was being built there. Not to erase the past. To answer it, Roman turned toward her. "There is one thing I did not arrange through Matteo." Ava's pulse changed. Roman reached into his coat, not with the dramatic confidence of a man claiming what he wanted, with the careful restraint of a man who had learned love was not ownership. He opened his hand. Inside lay his father's ring, the same heavy Valenti ring Lily had thrown in the chapel. Ava looked at it, then at him. Roman's voice was low. "This is not a proposal." Her heart pounded. "It feels like one." "No." His eyes held hers. "A proposal asks you to join my name. This asks whether I may keep choosing yours." Ava's eyes burned. Roman continued, "I have been feared, obeyed, betrayed, nearly buried by my own blood. None of it frightened me the way your locked door did." Ava remembered the storage room, the glass, the click of the lock, his voice waking from death. "Bring me Ava." Roman stepped closer. "I woke asking for you because some part of me already knew the truth. Not that you belonged to me. You never did." His voice roughened. "That I wanted to become someone worthy of being allowed near you." Ava looked down at the ring. Then she closed his hand around it. Roman S. expression flickered. Not rejection. Not yet. Ava stepped closer, rose onto her toes, and kissed him. For 1 second, he did not move. Then his control broke carefully, beautifully. He kissed her like a man restraining an empire inside his hands. One palm hovered near her waist before settling there only when she leaned into him. His other hand came to the back of her head, gentle and shaking. The wind wrapped around them. The construction lights glowed behind them like a city being rebuilt from ashes. When Ava pulled back, Roman rested his forehead against hers. "You did not take the ring," he whispered. Ava smiled through tears. "Ask me again when the clinic opens." His breath stopped. Ava touched his face. "And Roman, yes, no hospital weddings?" For the first time since she had known him, Roman Valenti laughed. Not loudly, not freely, but enough that the sound entered the cold night and stayed there. Ava looked past him to the rising walls, to the black water beyond, to the future she no longer believed had to be ordinary to be safe. Behind them, a car door opened. Lily's voice called through the wind. "Is he crying?" Roman closed his eyes. Ava laughed softly. "Maybe." Lily ran toward them in a yellow coat, her rabbit tucked under one arm. Roman turned just in time for her to crash into his legs. He steadied her with one hand, looking startled as always by affection that arrived without fear. Lily looked up at him. "Are we getting pancakes after this?" Roman looked at Ava. Ava raised an eyebrow. He looked back at Lily. "Yes, bear pancakes. Obviously, and not monster bears." Roman's mouth curved. "I will try to control my darkness." Lily nodded seriously. "Accepting this." Ava laughed again. And Roman watched her with the same stunned devotion he had tried for months to hide. Then Lily took Ava's hand with one small mitten and Roman's with the other. Together, they walked away from the place where everything had almost ended. The ocean roared behind them. The clinic lights burned ahead. And Roman Valenti, the man who had awakened from darkness, asking for one nurse, followed Ava Reed into a future he no longer wanted to own, only to earn. One truthful day at a time.